Who wants to work for the man? Underpaid, underappreciated, unable to control your own destiny. I take people out of the rat race and make them their own boss. My name is Dennis Mulgannon. I've been buying and selling small businesses for 25 years. From cupcake shops to locksmiths to laundromats. I've built companies with over $250 million in annual sales and created over 5,000 jobs. People ask me if I have an MBA. I tell them, yeah, a massive bank account. This is Be Your Own Boss. Hi, welcome to episode 3 of BYOB, and I'm Dennis Mulgannon hosting this podcast with, of course, my crony over here, Sean, who you guys have gotten to know over the first 2 podcasts, assuming you're listening to the third one. Well, and the first 2 were really kind of about setting the table, I guess, is the best way to say it. Wanted to give you guys a real good, strong background on why we're doing the podcast, who our reach is, and who we're trying to help transform lives. I mean, literally, that's what we're trying to do here. Is let people know there's another option in the world than I always say working for the man, in corporate America. And so we're going to kind of move this now more about you and about are you a good fit for franchising? So this is, over the next 4 or 5 podcasts, we're going to cover some sections. Those are going to be, so we're going to get a little bit more condensed in terms of what we're covering versus being broad strokes. And that's going to include, are you a good fit for franchising? Or should you be a W-2? Should you keep a job?
Or bootstrapping. I mean, do you have a 2 guys in an MIT dorm room, but hey, what's your business look like?
Facebook,
and
yeah,
you ready to do it? So,
well, I always called that when I first went into business. I was 20 years old, and we always called it FFN. Don't worry, I'm not going to say a bad word. Family, friends, and neighbors. That's how we raised money back then. And they invested in a small business. That's how I got into small business, was family, friends, and neighbors. And sometimes that's the way it works. Sometimes it's a family member who believes in you, and we'll explore that too. That's actually going to be one of the sections, is how do I fund a business?
Yeah. So if you're one of those high tech startup guys, go check out Jason Calacanis. Awesome accelerator, awesome startup, and we got a couple of his brands that are pretty cool that we're going to talk to those guys. But for us, this is really about really launching traditional businesses, growing, scaling.
Small Business America. Again,
absolutely,
which we'll keep coming back to. So one of the sections we're going to cover is who makes a great entrepreneur, because again, not everyone is cut out. We're not all cut from the same stone. So some people are going to there's going to be attributes about yourself that you're going to want to look at and want to analyze to see if if entrepreneurship is really a good fit for you. Again, one of the things that I've talked about is that sometimes I say, you're not a good fit. You should have a job. You don't have the risk tolerance. You're not going to that culture of corporate America where everything has to be perfect for them to be able to thrive. And small business ownership isn't that. I mean, again, they're wearing every hat in the business, from everything. I mean, COO, CEO, CIO.
It is that cheap cook and bottle washer, right?
CYA. They're wearing every scene level, and they got to be able to adapt to that. But again, that should be part of the attraction, that you're not answering to somebody, you're answering for yourself. And that the equity that you build and the, you're going to dictate your time, you're going to dictate your life. And that's another thing that we've kind of explored a little bit, Sean, is that, that's the lost piece. I mean, a lot of times this is, for people, our prospects or people considering, they only think about the monetary side. Lifestyle should have a lot to do with it. And we have touched on that just about, raising kids, having families and all that, but also, you get 2 weeks vacation. Anybody tries to tell me I get 2 weeks vacation, they can go to hell. I take 8, 10, 12 weeks of vacation a year because I can, but it's taken me trials and tribulations to get to that point where I'm able to do that.
Well, you check in on your businesses, you keep things going, but you can do it.
I
Versus
can.
all right, good. I got my job and I earned my 80 hours and, oh, guess what? Once I hit 5 years, I get another week of vacation.
Yeah. Hey, honey, I'm going to try to get us off, July 4th through, July 28th for vacation this year. Oh, my boss said no.
Oh, man, one of my best friends is a pharmacist, and he is low man on the totem pole, like 10 years plus experience. But
That's low, man.
At Kaiser. And it's like, guess what? We get to go on vacation September 12th. Yeah, the kids are in school.
Right.
Well, that's when I get off.
No, and so, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's, again, part of the benefit of, controlling your own life from an economic standpoint and what small business should afford you. It doesn't mean, you can just, go on vacation anytime you want, but once you build that business up and get it to some level of, operating, smoothly, then yeah, you have a lot of flexibility with your time. It's interesting because a lot of my businesses, I think a lot of the attraction, why my brands have grown so quickly is because a lot of them do have a lot of flexibility in from a lifestyles. When you have a mobile service business that has a very small office, I always tell my franchisees, well, if you're sitting in the office, you're not doing your job. But once your staff is on the road and everybody's out, the business is being conducted remotely. It's at somebody's house or somebody's place of business. You can work from home.
Yeah.
You can attend your kids' parent-teacher conference. You just block that time. Because mobility today, obviously, from a technology standpoint, affords that for small business owners. We can work from anywhere, and of course, during the pandemic, even a lot of corporate folks are now working more remotely, which is kind of cool. But and I think that they're realizing, wow, that this is what small business owners kind of get, other than they are on a clock and their computers are being tracked and they're being tracked by technology to ensure they're where they're supposed to be.
Yeah, so we talk a lot about sort of that lifestyle benefit and like being an entrepreneur, but really, in those episodes where we're talking about, am I an entrepreneur? Do I have it now? What it takes? What does it take to build up that skill set? How do I grow into it? We're going to go pretty deep on that and bring some folks in who are, frankly, in their discovery process, learn more about themselves, learn more about businesses, and have some calls and live chat sessions get a lot more engaging as we're moving forward with this podcast.
Well, and as people explore the different types of businesses, because, I mean, it's vast. So many people go, oh, I want to be in the food business. And I always ask them, I say, well, did you grow up in the restaurant business? And they go, no, never did. That can be a tough business. I mean, you are married to it. I once had a brand out of Arizona, and it was actually featured on Diners Drives, Guy Fieri show.
Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, yeah.
Yeah, it was called, I'm drawing a blank here, Over Easy. So it's a breakfast-only concept. In fact, it was featured in one of the reels I did for one of the television episodes. But that was as close as I was comfortable to recommending somebody to get into the restaurant business that had never been in the restaurant business and doesn't understand that world, because it was a breakfast-only concept. So, your food prep person came in at 6 a.m., started prepping, they open at 7, and the business closed at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Go pick up the kids from school. You have your staff that stays after, does all the cleanup. So that had a really true, cool lifestyle business, even though it was in the restaurant business, which historically is a really tough business to be in for a number of reasons. Most people can probably imagine what that is. So again, a lot of this comes down to, I don't like using the word passion. Well, I have a passion to do this. That can be important in your business decision, but it should be really earmarked on, income replacement, equity build, and lifestyle. And if passion can be thrown into that, you have an absolute love of flowers and you want to open a flower shop, and great. That's fantastic that you have that. But I wouldn't necessarily make that part of the criteria in your final decision-making process on what type of business you end up with.
Raising miniature donkeys. All right, we're
Hey, watch it there.
Let's go.
No, but I got another good example of that. And that's, like I am a collector, as we all know, and this is a baseball from 1957. It was one of the last baseball used. It was used in the last game at the Polo Grounds in San Francisco, in New York City, before the Giants moved to San Francisco. And the reason I bring that up is I'm a collector. I tried to be a dealer, a sports collectible dealer. I've been a collector all my life, from movie memorabilia to sports memorabilia. I was never good at it. I could never make a living at it because of the fact that I'm a collector. I didn't want to sell anything. I was really good at buying it for less than market value, but I'm not going to sell that. I want to keep it. So I became a substantial collector in a lot of ways.
I think what's your Shoeless Joe Jackson memorabilia is bigger than the museum.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. So, know thyself, right? I have a passion for it, but I couldn't make it into a successful business because the passion got in the way. And that's a little bit of an extreme story, but at the end of the day, I'm just trying to point out some things that sometimes aren't so obvious, because again, going back to and I'm not bashing you guys on the restaurant business. I'm just saying it's a tough business.
Yeah.
And if you're, you have a passion for cooking or, barbecue or whatever, I've met more failed barbecue guys who were great, in their backyard, who started barbecue restaurants that didn't know how to run a business.
You know what? When we do that episode, I want to bring in my buddy who's a great brewmeister. Okay. We're going to bring in two guys. We're going to bring in Mike Miraz.
Yep.
Both of them tried to open up. Mike is now, he's got a new great
Wildly
building.
Yep.
He's launching it. My other buddy, he's like just great brewer, but man, he's a great guy to hang out, have a beer with, but didn't have sort of that, am I an entrepreneur? Do I have that stuff? Because he was always there, and it ended up being a grind. His teenage boys like doing homework at the table there in the bar. Like
I remember that.
Yeah,
I remember that because it was right by Miraz.
Yeah,
it was catty corner or whatever across the street from it. And Mike has absolutely thrived, and Mike's a gold medal winner brewer and all that, but he also had the business acumen.
Yeah, absolutely,
right, and the passion to do that. So that's wonderful. I mean,
and this is BYOB after all, so we got to bring Mike in and talk about. How can you make your passion project a business? Sometimes you can't.
That's a fantastic point, because he would be a great example of that, and he's a good dude too. So, I like it.
We'll probably talk like half mountain biking, like passion on that. He's like, I'm not going into that space. But
Baseball, trust me.
I go into the exports. Yeah. So,
well, and then I think another episode that we're going to do that we've discussed, people have asked us about, is the whole opportunity to keep the day job and become a semi-passive owner of a business. I'm going to be very transparent. It's very difficult. You have to be a very special person, or the business has to be really well built for semi-passive ownership. And there are those opportunities exist. So again, eyes wide open. We're gonna kind of really go deep on that one to understand what that means. Back in the 80s, the big thing was vending companies, right?
Oh, yeah.
You just go and pick up your cash and restock the machine and all that. And the vending business, had a nice run, but it really isn't what it used to be. It's kind of like, was it Redbox, the DVD?
Yeah.
I mean, people were investing in Redbox franchises up to a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. It was huge. Didn't they hear about digital media and on demand was coming? And there's still some of those machines out there, but it's not, you want to think through that. What's the technological changes? What's happening in the world to make a decision on what type of business that's going to be viable, not just today, but tomorrow and in 5 years, 10 years. It should be at least a 10-year plan when you open a business. It shouldn't be, I'm going to do this for 2 or 3 years. I mean, unless you're a flipper, and what we call a flipper is somebody that builds up a business, flips it, sells it, and then goes down and does another one.
Yeah, when I did the entrepreneur program at USC, one of the best lessons I learned there that stuck with me to this day is when you go into business is look at your exit, right? Am I going to be able to sell it? Am I going to be able to go really absentee and have a GM in place and make revenue long-term off of it? But if you go into something sort of short-term with, next 2-3 years focus, you're not looking at that bigger picture long-term.
Well, and I would suggest if you are that person looking at it from a semi-passive ownership standpoint, don't miss that episode, because the bullshit's gonna come out, and I'm gonna talk about brands that people position as semi-passive, and I'm gonna throw them under the bus because I don't care, because they're lying to you.
Oh, yeah. They come in and say, oh, yeah, you can keep your day job and do this, a piece of cake, and all of a sudden
And it's a big lie.
Yeah.
And, and we have two semi-passive opportunities, and we're going to, not trying to push those, but we're going to show why they are. We're going to justify it, why they are true, real opportunities. And one's very expensive to open, and one's way less expensive to open. So they're not necessarily the same prospect either.
Yeah, different buyer.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, how do I fund my business is going to be a key topic.
Yeah. And we talked about FFN, family, friends, and neighbors, which is still something that people do today, or they bring in a silent partner who's an investor partner. But what a lot of people don't realize is that there's a lot of other funding sources out there today. And we're going to bring in the experts, one of the financial services companies that we work with. We stay very diversified. We work with 4 or 5 of them. They're all pretty good at what they do. But they can explain it at a much deeper level as a guest on the show. But we're going to cover, kind of in layman's terms, how you're funding, what your funding options are, from, Rob's rollovers where you're self-funding through your retirement accounts, to the SBA Express loans today, which are very popular, where it's only up to $150,000, and generally you're going to contribute around 30% of the capital. So that really funds a $180,000 investment. We use those all the time with our franchise partners. And there's just a lot more options today that maybe didn't exist 10 or 15 years ago. So there's ignorance in the market. A lot of people always default to, I'll just go get an SBA loan. Well, there's a lot of different programs within the SBA, and you need to know how to, to figure out what's the best fit for you, because the traditional SBA that we all think of is a lot more difficult to get, and it's a bigger investment, generally $500,000 or more. Well, most businesses today are, at least in the franchise world, are somewhere in the, $50,000 to $250,000, $300,000 investment range. So you have lots and lots of options in terms of how you finance.
Yeah, I had a guy I was talking to last week who went into his local Wells Fargo, made the appointment, sat down, and they're like, well, normally we do $250,000, $300,000 as a minimum loan, and you only need $80K. Like, well, we don't really do that. And once you're open, we can give you a line of credit, but that initial $80K.
Well, once you're open and profitable for 2 years, then yeah. So traditional bank, and what I think what Sean's leading to, and I missed the point, so thank you, is that we get that. We say, hey, here's our 5 funding partners. They're experts. They deal with all the major banks, all the SBA banks, all the ROBs. They keep you, if you're looking at a ROBs rollover, they keep you in federal government compliance because it is a regulated investment. Even though it's your own money using it, but it's a beautiful investment because you actually become the bank yourself. You loan the money to yourself in a tax-free environment. I know I just said that, and guess what? It's true. We fund half our deals through ROBs.
Oh, yeah, at least.
And but a lot of people go, I hear it all the time, and I just kind of chuckle on the phone, and, I've got a great banking relationship with my local banker, Bill, and, and I have Sunday dinner over there once a month, and our families are close. And I go, okay, all right, yeah, you go talk to Bill at, ABC Bank in Waco, Texas, and come talk to me, 3 weeks later when Bill says, you got to collateralize your home. Your wife's pregnant. We want the baby named after our bank. And they put the screws to you because they're not used to dealing with that. And again, here's part of what this podcast and what we're trying to accomplish here is education. If we can save you time in the process through telling the truth and giving you facts based on experience, not from a book and not from what I learned from somebody else, but real world experience, which is, what we're trying to give here, you're going to win, because even if we give you one nugget, that nugget's going to be huge. Trust me, to save you time, save you money, and, and not go down a path that's not legit, because there's a bunch of bullshit out there.
Well, in that, you just mentioned 5 of our funding partners, and as we go through this, every episode is going to have a little bit of, us sharing with you, taking questions, and also give you that call to action, right? With trusted, vetted people. So funding side, we've got the right people. They're going to come on the show, talk about the options, talk about the benefits. When we look at, what's the right fit for me, we're going to, we look at thousands of concepts out there, coming down to really a couple hundred that are growing in this environment, and then really probably top 100 that are, might be fit for you, for your lifestyle, for your goals, for...
Well, you just said a mouthful, Sean, because again, I looked up the number, and there's different degrees of what's coming out of the federal government in terms of number of franchises out there. And what I mean by franchises, I mean individual franchise concepts. So Subway, Burger King, all individual. There's over 3,500 now. That's a lot of noise. That's a lot to get through. And that's why we've partnered with the best consultants in the country who help you mine that field and are able to bring it down into, a dozen, a half dozen concepts that make more sense, that fit you from it's great. Let's say you want to open one of our laundromats, WaveMax. It's a $600,000 to $800,000 investment, and you got to come up with a couple $100,000. The rest is finance. That's not for everybody. We know that. There's so many phenomenal concepts that people don't know about, and they don't understand the profitability. And we'll get into that too. We'll talk about Item 19 and franchise disclosure documents in a standalone podcast. But right now, we're trying to give you our version of an MBA. In terms of, the knowledge that you really need to know to start exploring small business ownership.
Yeah. And so, that call to action when we're talking about that, it will be, obviously look at our brands, right? Or the trusted brands of folks that we have brought, like Brent on the first episode, and the best of the best coaches and consultants that are out there, people that we've worked with, that
the
we
best
trust.
Finance partners too. The best leasing agents. We've got in our inventory, in our relationships, just the best. We've been able to establish that, or I've been doing it for 35 years. And, the team around me are second to none. And, my favorite thing is to say, we're not working with you anymore. You lied to them. You screwed up. You get one and done with us. We're going to make sure that if you end up working with somebody that we've recommended, they're a trusted partner, and we're going to ensure that, or we'll can them, I promise.
So that really is that Mulgannon Business Associates, right? We like to play on our BYOB MBA, massive bank account, massive business acumen, and the trusted vetted associate. So we'll be able to help people, introduce them to the right person who's right for them, and really help vet it out and find the right match.
Well, these people don't want to screw with me. I mean, to be frank, my reputation in the marketplace has been established over decades.
Oh, yeah.
And if they screw with me, they know they're out, and there's going to be trickle down to them where their business is going to get hurt. And I don't have a problem with that. I do that on site selection all the time. I tell a leasing agent, if you show us a location outside of what we have defined as the parameters, you're fired. We will never, ever refer you another prospect, and we're going to take money out of your pocket because you're not listening to us. And we need our business partners to listen to us. It's critical because, again, this is built on reputation, right? I mean, that's what it is. And success, which came from failure. And so, I always say I live vicariously through me. Don't go through the pain points. I've done it all for you. I'm here just to help you. And I truly mean that.
So we rattled off quite a bit that we're going to go through in the next couple of episodes. So I sort of say, and more. Talk about our associates, how we can help people. What are those key attributes? What about this vetting brands concept? This gets me up in the morning.
Yeah, so again, if you guys understand how my business from a franchise perspective has evolved, I get pitched. People pitch me on their existing small business that they're running. Restaurants, lawn care, commercial locksmithing. I mean, it's, I had a spreadsheet at some point. I'm going to try to find it. And I was kind of keeping a tally of all the businesses that had pitched me over the last, I think I've done it for like 7 or 8 years. But there was probably, 150 different concepts. And I took 5, I believe, at that point to market. So I don't take most businesses to market, but we want to take new businesses to market. But we're very disciplined about it, like everything that we do. And so part of this show, we're a few episodes out. We're not sure when yet, but we're going to have 4, 5, 6 existing small businesses across America. I mean, my brands today are in Jacksonville, Florida, Boston, Spokane, Washington. They're all over the country. So it doesn't matter that we're in Northern California. We launch brands. If it's a solid brand, we're going to launch it, but we're going to get pitched. And we're going to get pitched live. They're going to have 2, 3, 4 minutes. We're not sure what the format's going to be yet. We want to give them ample time to pitch me on the concept. And then we're going to have banner going back and forth because, one of the things that I think I do extremely well is I'll punch holes in it and I'll push their buttons. And, if I piss them off, I piss them off. I don't really care because I'm going to invest in it. I'm going to take it to market. I'm going to fund the entire franchise structure program and go build another national brand because let me tell you, it's fun. It's so much fun. It's a ton of work. It's painful. But, as I look, at the list of home care assistants, junking, Nerds to Go, flying locksmiths, children's art classes, Wave Max, surface experts, did I say it twice? These are all started as a single operating unit somewhere in the U.S. and are now national brands. And it's just, I just love doing it. It's like having another kid. You got to birth it, you got to get it to walk, get it to jog, get it to run, and then all of a sudden you're in, I think I might have mentioned this before, but you're in Buffalo, New York, and you see home care assistants in a junking truck in the same day. It's insane. And I know, hey, I'm responsible for those brands. And it's a lot of fun for me, a lot of fun.
So we'll poke some holes and get to meet a lot of good people. And, not only are you going to take, we're going to take one to market, fully fund, go to market, but, build out our accelerator. Help these people learn, okay, great. You're, in the alphabet, it takes A to Z to have that full business in a box. Mm-hmm. Cool. You got A, G, K. Take Dennis's background and experience and build out that full suite and really position it in the marketplace and go through, again, that MBA, that Mulgannon Business Accelerator.
And you make another great point. That's why you're on here with me, is that directly correlates to somebody looking to buy a business, a resell, a new franchise, whatever it is. The vetting process that I go through when I consider taking a brand to market as a new franchise system is not dissimilar. I mean, it's very, very similar to how we're going to teach you to vet an opportunity, whether it's an existing resale business, whether it's a franchise system that's been around for 20 years and they have available territory, whether it's like one of my concepts or Raintree's concepts that are generally emerging franchise brands. It's your education's going to be parallel to how I do this. So you're going to get a pretty good education through these podcasts.
Oh yeah. When we go, vetting a brand is going to be, on one hand, it's going to be, all right, great. Do they have good financial performance? Is it something that can grow and scale for them? But for us, the vast majority of the people listening to the podcast, watching the session, is what should you look for when we're looking at financials? What should you look for in corporate structure? And how can you take advantage of Dennis's background to peel back the layers on any business to see if it's the right fit for you, capabilities, can it scale, is it a business in a box? If it's not a business in a box, all right, what needs to be worked out? Do you have the skill set to be able to, round it out? And is it the right fit?
And to encapsulate all you just said, I call out the BS is what I do.
Is it no BS?
No BS, no hype, just results. And, we back that up. And so, I mean, it's because, it's kind of like an existing business. Why are they selling? That's the first question, right? You should ask, why are they selling it? I mean, give me a good reason why you're selling a business. And, I tend to tear into that pretty good. And I've got a lot of shortcuts to figure out from a due diligence standpoint. How to figure that out. In fact, on BYOB, that's a lot of what I did when during the filming of the shows is I was getting, Monday through Friday, I had to help somebody buy a business, even if I'd never been to that city. I mean, been to most cities in the U.S., but, we parachute in, and I would be reading P&Ls and backgrounds and all this stuff, in a fleet of, black Suburbans with all the crew, trying to make a determination on which business I wanted to.
That's why you go visit.
So you get pretty good at it, let me tell you, not just from the TV show, but the reason I did the show was because I have that ability to vet, right? And vet quickly and cut through all the crap. And that's what I do. We're going to be actually I think we were talking about that. We're going to interject maybe some of the scenes from some of the episodes.
Yeah, as much as I say I'm not going to edit, heck yeah, we're going to edit.
Well, that's not editing. We're just interjecting.
Interjecting from the show,
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, because I think there's some really cool stuff that people get to see what actually happened live, where, it's not just me saying what I do, but they can actually see me doing it, because every single one of those episodes was legit, was live. It's all edited and stuff after the fact, but, we actually had to go buy a business in a week. And that's insane, let me tell you.
Well, and that's what I think people are going to be able to, you're able to distill 35 years of experience doing this into that week.
Right.
Go for the journey with us.
Right.
That's what the podcast is about and what we hope to really instill in people.
Yeah, no,
So with that in mind, we got to take a quick break. We got a great guest after the break, so stick around.
Yeah, you want to be on for that one. It's going to be a good one. Trust me. All right, everybody, we'll talk soon.